On one of their Sunday walks, Utterson and Enfield happen to walk past the door that they had stopped in front of earlier in the novella. Utterson tells Enfield that he once saw the man Hyde and that he shared Enfield's feelings of revulsion and disgust upon seeing him. The pair step into the courtyard of Jekyll's home as Utterson admits that he is worried for his old friend and wants to have a look around. At one of the windows, looking miserable and sick, they see Dr. Jekyll. Utterson calls up to Jekyll, telling him he's looking better, but his friend replies he is not, and he believes it will all be over soon. Suddenly, mid-conversation, Jekyll's face begins to change, and a look of utter terror and despair comes over him before he quickly pulls down the blind. The two men leave, and when they are some distance away, they look at each other with faces full of horror. At the start of Chapter 8, it's evening, and Utterson is sitting by his fire when he's interrupted by a visit from Poole, who is clearly distressed. Poole tells him that he's afraid about something happening with Dr. Jekyll. He admits to Utterson that he thinks Jekyll has been murdered. Utterson gets his coat and his hat and agrees to follow Poole to Jekyll's house. When they arrive at the housemaid is whimpering and hysterical. Poole takes Utterson around to the back of the house and begs him to be as quiet as possible as he wants him to hear and not be heard. They arrive at Jekyll's chamber door and Poole tells Jekyll that Mr. Utterson is there to see him. A voice comes from behind the door saying he cannot see him, and both Poole and Utterson return to the kitchen. Here, Poole says he believes Jekyll has been murdered because a few days previous there had been lots of shouting and crying out. Utterson cannot understand why, if someone has murdered Jekyll, they would stay at the scene all this time. Poole tries to explain it by saying that whatever is behind the door has been calling out for a type of medicine that Jekyll used to keep, but which they had been unable to get a hold of recently. Jekyll had become frantic to get it, sending out to chemists all over London, but not finding any that was pure enough. Now the person who has replaced Jekyll, Poole says, has been doing the same, giving orders to the staff to try different chemists for the powder. Poole then tells Utterson that he has seen the man who is behind the door. He says he saw him digging through crates in the storage area and says that if it was his master, he must have been wearing a mask. Utterson believes he has an answer and suggests that maybe Jekyll has a disease that transforms and disfigures the sufferer's face, and that is why he's looking for medicine. Poole rejects this completely, arguing that what he saw was too short to be his master, Dr. Jekyll, and they both come to the conclusion that there is nothing left to do but break the door down and find the truth. Poole takes an axe and Utterson a poker. The pair stand outside the door listening and decide that what they hear is not Dr. Jekyll's footsteps. Before they break the door open, Utterson calls out his final warning, and when the voice responds, Utterson is finally convinced that it is Hyde in the room. They knock through the door, and inside find the figure of Hyde on the carpet, twitching and wearing clothes that are much too big for him. They notice a file in his hand, and Utterson realises that Hyde has taken a substance and killed himself. They look around the rest of the apartment for the body of Jekyll, but are unable to find it. They are entirely confused. Utterson then finds a book that Jekyll had much admired and spoken highly of, but which now has terrible things written about it in the margins of the pages in Jekyll's own handwriting. This unsettles Utterson greatly, and finally, after more searching, they find a letter on the table addressed to Utterson. He opens it and papers fall out. The first is an updated version of Jekyll's will, similar to the previous one with one exception. Instead of leaving everything to Mr. Hyde, Jekyll now leaves everything to Mr. Utterson. The next paper is a note dated with that day's date and addressed to Utterson. In it, Jekyll says he's disappeared and that Utterson should go and read the letter Dr. Lanyon gave to him before reading the letter Jekyll has written. Utterson goes home to read the two letters, telling Poole he will report Hyde's death to the police when he's finished reading.